I'm not going to say this is the pre-show to the pre-show with the Phoenix Suns tonight, but you can call it that with a little Arizona Cardinal talk mixed in. Nah, it's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Although we do rep our Phoenix Suns proudly here. It's Brack. It's Johnny Venerable here. What are we, 7-8 days now removed from the 2023 NFL draft? And I don't know what to believe, Bo. You got some folks saying CJ Stroud's a lock to go number 2, but then our friends in Vegas, and we do trust Vegas here on this program, no, it's Will Anderson Jr. second overall. What are the Cardinals and Monti Ossenfort supposed to do, Bo Brack?
It's peak crazy season for the draft, right? I mean, Here was what we thought we know to be true was not which quarterbacks were going to go 1-2, but we thought a QB was going to go in the first 2 picks of the NFL draft. And now our reality has been flipped, turned upside down. And we are just, as Cardinals fans, people who cover the Cardinals, trying to figure out what's going to happen 9 days from now, NFL first round of the draft, and whether or not they're going to have even Will Anderson as an option at 3 if they don't trade down, it's pretty crazy, pretty Looney Tunes to think that we talked this entire draft season for the bulk of it that Will Anderson was going to be a legit option for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, it's frustrating because we sat on that post-game show with Frank Sanders and Damian Anderson, you and I, and we talked about, okay, well, the Cardinals are in good shape because they're going to either get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson because, a quarterback's going to go first overall, and that didn't happen. Why? Because Jalen Carter has seemingly pushed himself out of contention for this team. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And now Will Anderson Jr., I do believe that D'Amico Ryans is infatuated with Will Anderson Jr. I think he believes that a Nick Bosa-esque type of player can transform their defense. They can win running the football, working off of play action. You can have a B-plus quarterback. I don't think he feels pressure to force a QB pick he doesn't love. The problem is that if you're Houston, after the situation with Deshaun Watson and the landscape in the AFC, like, how do you not roll the dice on a quarterback? Especially you have a pick early in the teens that you could take a pass rusher. You can take a Nolan Smith. So I do think that there is some legitimacy to this. You've got people like Lance Zierlein who are well-connected in Houston saying, yeah, they could trade up for a QB, but they want to go Will Anderson Jr. second overall, which is baffling. But I think in a lot of ways, I think it makes the Cardinals situation easier. And hear me out on this. I don't know if they would take Will Anderson Jr. over Tyree Wilson. I would hope that they would do that, Bo Brack. But could you imagine the reality? If a quarterback goes second overall and the Cardinals don't have the offers, maybe because people have soured on Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, and they have to stick and pick like we're going to do later on in our mock draft, and they don't take Will Anderson Jr. We were on a show, what was an Amazon Draft Talk a couple weeks ago, and I didn't think they'd take Will Anderson Jr. at 3rd overall. I would take Will Anderson Jr. You would take Will Anderson Jr., but this team, for whatever reason, has their sights set elsewhere. So in a lot of ways, I think this simplifies things. I think if they go Will Anderson Jr. second to Houston, the Cardinals, it'll only strengthen their position. Come get CJ Stroud, whomever you want. We'll trade down. Maybe we can't get the package we once thought we could, but we don't have the pressure now of potentially passing. Because I think this franchise, which seemingly can't avoid the landmines of this offseason, it would be unforgivable if they pass on Will Anderson Jr. if he's there at pick 3, if they don't have a trade down option.
So you like that it takes the pressure off Monti Ossenfort to even have to pull the trigger, make that decision, right? And, Peter King echoing news that we have been talking about since our time at the Combine, that there are talent evaluators in the NFL that view Tyree Wilson as a better prospect than Will Anderson as far as the edge goes. And that's just coming to light today. And Peter King, rightfully so, has a little bit more clout than Johnny or myself, but something we've been talking about. And if you look at Johnny's draft breakdown of a guy like Tyree Wilson, you can see why people can fall in love with the guy. But I agree with you. I mean, I think as far as Monti Ossenfort and the tough decisions that he has to make as a first-year general manager, and pretty much not spend in free agency and not retain some players that they drafted and developed and let go elsewhere for big deals, and Zach Allen in Denver and Byron Murphy in Minnesota, it would be piling on. All right. You have to trade DeAndre Hopkins. It seems like that's inevitable, right? You have to trade down from 3 and not just stick and pick the best player available. But if you do make the decision and you're torn and you think that you're convicted in the idea that Tyree Wilson is the better prospect, is going to be the better pro, it's still a tough sell to a fan base that just wants something a little bit more proven than a guy who had 7.5 sacks for the Texas Tech Red Raiders in the Big 12. I mean, it's just piling on and on and on about sells for this fan base that just wants something nice. They just want nice things, and they view Will Anderson as a very nice thing. And I don't disagrry with them.
Yeah, Ollie in the chat, Cards met with Nolan Smith today out of Georgia. Nice option at 7 or 11. I would agree with you, although he's not Bo's favorite. He's a little undersized, and we know that they want big, physical people to play the 4-3 defensive end with Jonathan Gannon. I think we need to start having a realistic discussion as a fallback. We're sitting at 4 peaks on draft night, right? The Cardinals are on the clock. Will Anderson Jr. goes 2nd overall.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals can't trade down, and they use the entirety of their time, right? And that they have to make a pick. We need to start having a discussion, albeit maybe it's a 10 to 20% chance this happens, of who that is going to be. Not who we want, not who, fits a need, even though they have tons of needs. Like, who are the Cardinals going to draft? I want to hear everybody in the chat right now. Who are the Cardinals drafting 3rd overall if Will Anderson Jr. is gone and they can't trade down? Because if they can't trade down, you can't hold that against Monti Ossenfort. What do you can't just give the 3rd overall pick away for an extra 4th and move down 6 spots.
Right.
If you have to pick somebody, Monti Ossenfort, who are you picking? I'm already seeing some scenarios in the chat saying, let's just take Jalen Carter. I just don't think they can do that. I don't think this franchise is prepared to do that. I feel like that ship has sailed, long sailed. Hell, let's bring up the graphic now, producer Emma, that has for us on the big man, 3rd overall. I don't think it's going to happen. Jalen Carter, I think it's more realistic. He goes in the bottom half of the top 10 as it relates to teams like Atlanta, potentially the Vegas Raiders. As you can see here, Adam Schefter reporting for our audio-only listeners. Jalen Carter's visiting the Falcons today. He'll have visited with each team picking 5 through 10. Seahawks at 5, Lions at 6, Raiders at 7, Falcons at 8, Bears at 9, Eagles at 10. So it feels like those teams are doing their due diligence. Cardinals aren't on that list. We know we have it sourced. They met with him at the Combine, went fine, but they haven't used a precious top 30 visit with him, Bo. And I don't think he's going to be the pick.
It would be, I think it's you're going out on a limb. It's a reach to say that it's a smokescreen that they wouldn't meet with a guy like Jalen Carter, because I saw a clip from he and his agent Drew Rosenhaus. There's a profile on them on Real Sports on HBO. I don't know if it drops tonight or tomorrow, but they just had a little clip on it. And the reporter, and excuse me for not knowing who his name is, I wish I did, but one of the great reporters that work for Real Sports, he asked him, do you feel like the incident, the tragic incident that happened in January and that's followed up with it, it's going to impact where you get drafted? And this was a quote from Jalen Carter. He said, yeah, I feel like it's going to matter a little bit because the NFL teams look deep into your life. It could have been something I did in elementary. So this is coming out of the time that it did. I'm pretty sure it's going to affect a little bit. Close quote. And I just don't feel
lack
like
of self-awareness there.
Complete lack of self-awareness. And, and Drew Rosenhaus, saying that he's not going to meet with teams outside of the top 10 because he's going to be selected by the top 10. The reporter asked Rosenhaus, he's like, well, what are you going to do if he continues to slide? And he's not talking like he definitely knows. He's just trying to speak this into existence. There's proof there with Schefter's tweet about, teams from 5 to 10 have talked to him, but they're doing their homework on this kid because the red flags are brutal. I mean, the red flags, to even insinuate, there's stuff beyond that NFL teams would be like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then to show up also to his personal pro day or to George's pro day, nearly 10 pounds over the weight he was at the Combine, and to not be able to finish position drills. I mean, it's one after the other. It's not just this brutal tragedy that he was involved in and, allegedly wasn't forthcoming about his role in it. I mean, I think with what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals and continues to be off the field noise in situations that you don't want your favorite football team to be in the headlines for. Terry McDonough, the guy who was accusing, Michael Bidwell of this gross misconduct, doubled and tripled down as he talked to Doug Franz and via Bob McManaman of AZ Central, saying that, he's going to lose his team, basically, to paraphrase.
Right.
It's like you can't take a player. The prospect on the field, it makes all the sense in the world. The prospect off the field, it's just a no-go. It's a non-starter for the Arizona Cardinals.
There's not a worse fit for a team and a player right now than Jalen Carter in the Arizona Cardinals. I'll be as blunt as I can be with that. There is not a worse fit. The Cardinals do not have their shit together to be able to take a player like Jalen Carter. You talk about Jalen Carter needs to go somewhere where the culture is rock solid, right? And they've got a pedigree and they've got proven people there. We like Monti Ossenfort. I love Jonathan Gannon, but like they're 2 months into this thing. Like this is a player that you take. I mean, we use the example Robert Kimdichie, which probably isn't fair to Robert, but like
right.
who drafted Robert Kimdichie? Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians was a made man. That Bruce Arians okayed that pick at the end of the first round. Bruce
that was
Arians
after an NFC championship appearance,
right?
For
it's
that
like, well,
team.
shit, you can throw a lottery ticket, Robert Kimdichie, and he busted, right?
Yeah.
And Cardinals were like, whatever, we were picking at the end of the first round. This is the third pick in the draft. This is the first pick of this era. There's 0% chance I will go to my PHNX Cardinals grave stating they will not take him. Jonathan Gannon, for those of you who don't know, Fletcher Cox can be a little bit of a diva in Philadelphia. And Jonathan Gannon had to make it work with Fletcher Cox where he was not coachable at times. They were shifting their scheme. He's like, hey, I got this defense. I want you to buy in. And eventually he did buy in, but he was the speculation of trade room. Jonathan Gannon doesn't want to deal with Fletcher Cox 2.0, the person at, the age of like 22 for the next like 10 years, right? Jonathan Gannon wants a Will Anderson Jr.-esque type of person, I'm going to sneeze, that can match.
Bless you. God bless you, Johnny Venerable.
These allergies in Maricopa, there's dust everywhere. That can match the player. If you could have Jalen Carter, the player, with Will Anderson, the person, that we'd have no discussion. Actually, that player probably would be going second overall because we're not asking questions about Jalen Carter's ceiling. We're asking questions about Will Anderson Jr.'s ceiling. We were at the Combine. Before this news came out at the Combine, it was the consensus by everybody we talked to, Jalen Carter is the best player in this draft.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, okay, well, shit, Cardinals are going to have an opportunity maybe to draft him. If two quarterbacks going from him, by the end of the week, we had taken him off our draft board. We had everybody tell they're not going to take Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter was supposed to meet. Bo and I were there with about 100 other people waiting for Jalen Carter to speak. He was nowhere to be found because he had to turn himself in because he had a warrant out for his arrest and he came back. To his credit, it's not going to happen. So let's pivot from that point. What is going to happen? If they're sticking and picking, we're going to do a mock draft in a little bit. I think it's one of two options. I think it's their number one rated corner or their number one rated tackle. That's it. And I can live with that. Stop. We can't fault Monti Ossenfort for picking a premium position when there's nothing left to pick. They're not going to take a tight end or Bijan Robinson third overall, even though they have a higher grade. You either got to take Devin Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, or if you have a tackle that is has a top 5 grade, you have to take that tackle. I'm fine with. I will be 100%.
Yeah, I don't think a tackle has a top 5 grade in this draft. Like I said yesterday, Paris Johnson Jr. I like him. I don't love him. And then, like to your point, could you slide him inside? But you're going to take a guard.
He can play guard the first year, and then play tackle. Plenty of players do that.
It's still not worth the 3rd overall pick. If anything, the upside of Christian Gonzalez, it's enough there to where I can spin it in my own head. 6'2", nearly 200 pounds, over 40-inch vertical, ran a sub 440. Just an absolute athletic freak. It seems like he's got great character. He's got great ball skills, length, the projectables. You love all of it, right? So look, if we're going to talk ourselves into a player that's not Will Anderson Jr., Jalen Carter's out of the conversation, and it's just who's on the board and who's the best available. I think it's Gonzalez. I think Witherspoon might be in that conversation. And Tyree Wilson is absolutely in that conversation as well, just because then you really are just kind of pivoting to projectables, right? You're not going off of real proven film day in and day, or week in and week out producing in for a top tier Power 5 conference team like you were with Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter. I mean, that's just because you got the opportunity to watch them, and it took out some of the questions that you had as far as how's it going to translate to the next level. Things have to go very well for these guys to be the players that they think, a lot of people believe they can be.
This is the frustrating part for them, I'm sure, because we have it sourced like they were taking field and phone calls at the draft, or at the combine. They've been taking phone calls on the 3rd overall pick. Now I don't know if they've listened to full-fledged offers yet. I'm not of the mindset the teams have soured on these quarterbacks, by the way. I still think Anthony Richardson's going top 5. But you can sense the problem here is, okay, your options at 3 are likely going to be an option or options at 7 or 11. That's why they want to trade down, because Paris Johnson Jr. and Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon and Tyree Wilson, they're all in this bucket together. And some might include Will Anderson Jr. in that group as well. So if you're the Cardinals, of course, it benefits you to say, let's get another first, let's get a couple 2s, let's get a 3 in there, and then, supplement your roster that way. And I think it would, after all of this hoopla, we're open for business. The day the Bears traded the 1st overall pick, it's like, Cardinals, you're on the clock. You're up for it. And now you've got word that Houston may pass on these quarterbacks. I'm not sure what kind of message that's sending too. And we haven't talked about that, the damage control. Why isn't Houston taking a quarterback? And does that give Indianapolis or Vegas or Indy pause to say, well, why don't they feel like any of these guys are worth it?
Yeah.
If they're not just going to stick and pick there, why are we trading up with the Arizona Cardinals? I don't think that's nothing.
No, it's not nothing. It does cross your mind, but it also comes down to trusting your scouts, trusting the tape that you watched, and what you believe the player is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe Anthony Richardson is who was it? Sam Monson said there hasn't been a quarterback as athletic as Anthony Richardson in the draft almost ever, right? As far as size, skill set, speed, arm strength. But then you watch the tape too. I mean, there's a lot that has to go right. He's got to take on a Josh Allen type trajectory and take his raw skill set and turn it into what it's become. And then the knocks on, like, the biggest curious case here is CJ Stroud, right? Because I think it was even Peter King, as I already mentioned him earlier in the podcast, but he was mentioning that he doesn't believe, he's hearing that a lot of people believe he's going to drop out of the top 5. Was it? He's not going to be drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft. It's
Peter.
Just
that
seems
ridiculous.
I mean, from pretty much being the odds-on favorite to be the Carolina Panthers' #1 pick to falling out of the top 5.
It's like minus 300.
Look at the quarterback-hungry teams, it just doesn't add up to me. That's why we're close to it. I know some of us think we've already arrived as far as peak draft crazy season, but we'll just wait till the beginning of next week.
I'm almost waving the white flag, and you brought up a really good point today. I sent Bo a mock draft that kind of, I don't know, it made me feel a little bit better, and then Bo stomped on it. So Peter Schrager had his mock, and I'm like, oh yeah, Peter's been really accurate with the Cardinals, and he had Stroud going 2nd. The Cardinals take Will Anderson Jr. 3rd. But then you got to remember, as Bo pointed out, well, who was Peter Schrager buddies with that's no longer with this franchise was Cliff Kingsbury.
Right.
Peter Schrager telegraphed the Zaven Collins pick and the Isaiah Simmons pick. Well, who was part of that franchise? It was Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff is not around anymore.
No.
There's new people for the best possible reasons a part of the Cardinals football operations, but it does mean that less leads are getting out. Like, we don't have any tangible data with this team and how they operate. They haven't signed anybody of note outside of Kazir White, and they haven't made any trades. They haven't traded Hopkins or Budda Baker. They haven't traded down. So we have no reputation or resume. And this is the only time, kind of enjoy this period of the next 8 days, because we don't have a blueprint for what Monti Ossenfort does. We're going to have a blueprint next offseason, just like for Steve Keim, for better or worse. We knew what that guy was going to do or not do, right? We knew he loved his linebackers, his wideouts, right? He loved trading for veteran. We don't know what Monti Ossenfort's doing. And I think,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think my biggest case is I see like Nolan Smith getting so much love in the chat. It's like, you know who would love Nolan Smith?
Steve Keim.
Yeah.
100%.
So what, doesn't that make you pause? It's like,
yes,
like
they
ultra
will
productive
not draft Nolan Smith over
college
Tyree
player,
Wilson.
freak at the combine. You know, I've read that story before. And as far as how it ends in the NFL,
hybrid,
I would say not great. But to kind of backtrack into the friend that you reached out to today that you thought was going to give you some sort of positive news and didn't, just stomp them. I'll actually come to your defense and say Traeger also, he predicted the trade up with Josh Rosen. That was pre-Cliff. So
sure.
I do believe he has sources within the organization. Is it as ironclad as it once was, where he was able to predict Zaven Collins at 16 to this team so many years ago? I don't think so. And there's so much smoke screening going on it too, that it's tough to just even figure out where the draft's going to be, even at 3 in this draft, which is insane. We usually know way more about what's going on in this draft and how to forecast it at this point in draft season.
Well, I'll give pick and spread some love here because, yes, Nolan Smith is not Hassan Reddick pre-draft or even Isaiah Simmons. He played in the SEC. He plays a premium position, and he dominated the college level, and he dominated the offseason. So, like, I can wrap my arms around it. I don't want any part of him at the 3rd overall pick, but shit, if they take Nolan Smith at 7 or 9 or 11, like, there's your replacement for Chandler Jones. There's the guy that's going to come in.
Would you take Nolan Smith over Tyree Wilson?
It's a really good question.
I'll say no.
Man,
6'6". The size.
Now, but see, now you sound like Keim though, because it's like, let's look at attributes and not football. And one of those guys dominated the SEC.
Can you imagine if Tyree Wilson was playing on the same defensive line as Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Wyatt?
I think I'm indifferent on it. I think I could talk myself into both. I don't think Tyree Wilson's going to be drafted below Nolan Smith, but it wouldn't bother me either way. Can I say that? I'm impartial to it. I'm numb to it. As long as it
boring.
comes in the form of a trade. It's not boring as long as it comes in the form of a trade. Now, Tyree Wilson had 7 sacks in the Big 12. That's not good enough. Now, we've talked in depth with his agent, Eric Burkhart, and he is adamant. Of course he is. He's the best player in the draft. And the Cardinals don't have enough big men on defense. They lost J.J. Watt, Zach Allen. Tyree Wilson's the guy who's going to be the first one walking off the bus for this franchise, especially on defense, right? He's a huge mountain of a human being. But when you put the pads on, they're going to run a 4-3 defense under Jonathan Gannon. Can he line up and eventually become one of the best defensive ends in the NFL? Because if you take him 3rd overall, that's what you need him to be. You need him to be a top 5 pass rusher. It's not good enough that maybe he has 1 double-digit sack season and he's just kind of middling 7, 8 sacks. And then, you know what we're all going to do? We're going to point and say, oh, yeah, why does he only get this kind of production? And the rest of us are going to say, because he had 7 sacks at Texas Tech. And then somebody else who had multiple double-digit sack seasons at the collegiate level, sometimes that translates. So I'm with you. And I think it kind of harnesses this entire point. There's no sure thing at pick 3. Will Anderson Jr. is the closest sure thing you have, player in person. And if he's gone and you can't trade down, it's a great time to dabble on BetMGM Sportsbook. Maybe you can get some big time plus money on who's going to be the 3rd overall pick. That's all I'm saying. What else I'm saying? Check out our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook, the great lawn at State Farm Stadium. Hello, we've talked about it. We're going to continue to talk about it. We're so fired up, so much so we're going to provide you this bonus code, PHNX, for the BetMGM app. There's a few different ways you can dabble with BetMGM, but specifically for our Arizona audience, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager on BetMGM. Super simple. Here's how it works. Do it ahead of tonight's matchup, Phoenix Suns. Download the BetMGM app, sign up with bonus code PHNX, place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market at standard odds price. You're going to get $10 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure use that bonus code PHNX when you sign up. Plus, join us BetMGM at State Farm Stadium for all Suns playoff games coming up. And I have to travel to Los Angeles to play these fraudulent Clippers, taking the game with our crew here at PHNX. Our Suns watch parties presented by Neutral feature food and drink specials, giveaways. Check out this t-shirt. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the giveaways here in the coming weeks. BetMGM deposit matches. Join us. Grab your free ticket in the show notes. Check out the show notes for the full details and breakdowns. Now you get to listen to my good friend Shane Diefenbach talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Officially unlocked the specials that you're going to be seeing a week from Thursday at Four Peaks. We've got some incredible deals. You've got to join us for our PHNX Cardinals, PHNX Sports Four Peaks draft party. That's going down. Join us for beer specials. Here's your beer specials. How about a $3 Redbird Lager? That means they're picking third overall. You're getting a $3 beer. Three's the magic number. If you want to upgrade, you can get some $5 Redbird Lager pitcher. So $3 pints, $5 pitchers. That sounds like a deal to me. If you team up with some friends and have
somebody drive me home,
get in on it. Also, you've got the usual PHNX specials: $3 kilts, wow pints, the #1 wheat beer in the state of Arizona. Don't miss out on that. Make sure you're following, of course, on social at Four Peaks Brew for all the latest on Arizona's premier craft brewery. But it's the best place to take in the NFL draft is next Thursday, April 27th, Four Peaks H Street Pub. Register for free. We got the link coming up for you. You can link it, and it's actually in the show notes. Get the advantage of these beer specials. Hang out with Johnny, myself, the entire PHNX crew. Come up to us wearing actually one of your PHNX Locker shirts, and we're going to give you a beer right for free. You don't have to pay $3. You don't have to pay $5. You just get one for free wearing some PHNX swag, like I'm wearing the Bird Gang t-shirt. You can get it for yourself, phnxlocker.com. You got to be 21 years or older. Better enjoy it responsibly over at Four Peaks. Cannot wait. 9 days away, Johnny Venerable.
I'm more excited in a lot of ways to party with all of you than whoever's going to be the pick. I'm kind of numb to that at this point. I'm numb to the uniform talk that we're going to get into here in a little bit. But I am not numb. I am anxious. I can barely sleep to party with all of you PHNX Cardinals that have made this such a beneficial year for PHNX and PHNX Cardinals. We're so fired up, so much so we're going to do a stick and pick mock draft right now. Here are the rules. Bo and I have done mock drafts each of the last, 2 or 3 Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. This one, though, we are sticking with the theme, not allowing ourselves to trade down. We're going to use our friends at the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. Give me just the hottest of hot minutes while I share my screen. We head on over to Pro Football Focus.
You're just bringing it up right now? Oh, there we go.
All right. All 7
rounds.
Cardinals, 3rd overall. Let's do it, Bo Brock. What are we thinking? On the clock here, Carolina Panthers. Again, no trades. We're not allowed to trade. Trading is bad. Okay. I think this is an easy decision here, Bo Brock.
So Will Anderson is on the board. He survives here. So stick and pick. We went through a couple of the options. You look at who the athletes are. It went Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. You've got Jalen Carter. We gave our reasons why, the prospect on the field obviously would be the selection for the Cardinals, but the off-the-field issues take him off the board. Will Anderson Jr., Will Levis, Barf, Anthony Richardson. If we could trade down, probably would take a haul for somebody that trade up. You got Tyree Wilson, who we just talked in depth about, Devin Witherspoon. I think below there you got Christian Gonzalez. So you've got a pretty solid group of players to pick from in this scenario, Johnny. Will Anderson Jr. is there. We've said it. It's an easy pick. Don't overthink it. Just take him, right?
It is an easy pick. I just want to quickly highlight. It's funny, PFF, they're not down on Christian Gonzalez, but they clearly have Devin Witherspoon as the quintessential top corner in this draft. And even more so, it's crazy that an Illinois defensive back is basically the 7th overall player and the 3rd non-quarterback in this draft. That's crazy to me. I don't know if the Cardinals feel
really
that
talented.
way.
He's really talented. I mean, just his instincts, his physicality, his versatility. A lot of NFL teams love what he brings to the table, even though Christian Gonzalez is just an absolute freak and has the size and athleticism that people covet. He's Daniel Jeremiah's got Witherspoon as his top guy. ESPN had decided that he's a bigger prospect. So Devon Witherspoon, I think, is your consensus top corner. But sometimes teams, especially in rebuilds, probably looking at projectables instead of just like what caliber player you are today. Witherspoon, there's a lot to like, but
I know the Cardinals like Christian Gonzalez's size more.
Yeah,
but is Christian Gonzalez a better football player than Devon Witherspoon? That remains to be seen. I would say who has the better tape. I mean, you can make a serious argument for the kid out of Champaign, Illinois. But for the sake of this mock draft, Bo Brock, we don't have to ask those questions because we get the number one defensive player in this draft off the field, on the field, third overall. Before we get to this pick here, Bo Brock, if this is the scenario Cardinal fans face and they take Will Anderson Jr. and they can't trade down, you think it's met with applause? You think even though they don't come away with extra picks, fans are going to be excited?
Yeah, I think that is really the only option that's not going to be a polarizing pick. It's polarizing, right? I mean, I think that a lot of people would have wanted to trade down and maybe taken the best offer, even if it wasn't what Monti Ossenfort envisioned when he took this job and when he started to kind of put together what their draft strategy was going to be. But yeah, I think that if you were to take one player, third overall stick and pick and not have a fan base melt down, Will Anderson Jr. is that.
We do love to melt down. I'm melting down here. I'm not seeing my interior offensive lineman that I would have hoped, but Bo Brock, the stud defensive tackle, Mazi Smith out of Michigan. Put away the TCU tape for a second and look at this guy's production at Michigan. You're telling me this defense doesn't turn the corner in 2023 with the additions of Smith and Will Anderson Jr.? Check out his effort against Ohio State, by the way.
Yeah, you got to love it, right? In the rivalry game, him just kind of solidifying and keeping that defensive line where it needs to be against some impressive offensive linemen. When you look at who's the top O lineman in this draft, you got a pair of Ohio State guys, and for him to do work against that talented group, I think it speaks volumes. And look, if they take a player like that, we know they've talked to, right? Mazi Smith came in for a top 30 visit.
He did.
You get Will Anderson Jr., you get a interior defensive lineman, your front seven starting to look a lot better than it did before this draft started. You think that's the pick here? I mean, you got a couple. You got Ojulari out of LSU. I don't know if you go edge there, probably a big no-no. I know there's Avila down the board here at 47. You don't get value according to Pro Football Focus, but we don't give a shit about that. I mean, what's the I would be hard-pressed to get away from Avila. I like Smith. I think if you stay in the trenches on either side of the ball, this is a slam dunk pick.
This is why they want multiple picks in the second round, because it's going to set yourself up to be able to get the best player remaining or co-best player remaining, but to also get a value player like Avila or Whippler. We know they've met with all three of them. I think, Bo, I'm putting my vote. Like, I think Mazi Smith is a firm first round pick, and if you can get him at pick 33. Now you've got two anchors to build with Jonathan Gannon. You're rewarding Jonathan Gannon, who basically took a shot on this franchise, and vice versa. Hey, Jonathan, thanks for coming here. How about Will Anderson Jr. and Mazi Smith? We're going to figure out the offensive line. We're not going to, but we're spending our picks on premium positions, defensive tackle, edge rusher. We're not ignoring the offensive line, but we're not forcing picks. And it's like they've been saying they can't fill every need this offseason. So you tell me what you want to do. I think Mazi Smith.
All right. Yeah. In the chat going crazy, they want Cansey out of Pitt. He's off the board, folks. He's not there. He's actually, I think they got him ranked.
We got some time here. He went 20th overall, unfortunately, to the Seattle Seahawks in the division.
Let's pull the trigger on the big man out of Michigan. Let's start to work on that front seven, that defensive front seven. I think that at this point, Anderson Jr., Smith, Monti Ossenfort getting high grades in his first draft.
It's meat and potatoes. And look, you've set yourself up now. You didn't overdraft Whippler, or I would have taken Avila. I had no problem taking Avila at pick 34. But boy, I mean, this is an easy decision in my opinion right now. You have an opportunity to get your center of the future. You talk about, this is right now turning out to be best case scenario if they can't trade down the way this draft is unfolding.
Absolutely. You see a couple of guys on this, like Garrett Williams, they've talked to, they brought in, right? You've got one of the top running backs out of UCLA on the board. Andre Carter the second, a pass rusher, but I think that this is easy. This decision's made for you. Tony Pauline of Pro Football Network saying that the Cardinals, he believes he's going to be a Cardinal when this is all said and done.
Definitive said he's going to be drafted by Monti Ossenfort.
So in the chat is speaking, Trinell, Han shot first. They're just saying, make the pick. Let's go Whippler. Picking spreads. Hello, Whippler.
Hello, Whippler.
Now an Arizona Cardinal. So 3 picks down, and you've got 2 on the defensive front, and you got 1 on the offensive front. Trenches, Johnny. Trenches, baby.
You've checked 3 monster boxes with 3 monster players. So now you can go a little finesse here.
Doesn't this pick seem like it's made for you too?
Is it with Garrett Williams?
I'm thinking Garrett Williams, the corner out of Syracuse.
His size. I can never remember who's tiny and who's not. So he's average size. He's 5'10". He's uncoachable though. What Williams has is uncoachable. Excuse me. He's a top 5 corner in a class on mirroring ability alone. The rest is a work in progress. Where he wins is his feet. Listen. Notre Dame, respectable grade. Louisville, real program, respectable grade. Virginia. That was a fun game in the Dome in Syracuse. I have no problem with this pick. My only concern is, if we're gonna take a running back, I think this is the place.
Oh, Johnny.
I think this is where you can get cute here. Tank Biz. Listen, we know they've met with Kendra Miller, and so here I'm not saying we're gonna take him right now, but I'm gonna point out something. Pick 95 could end up being the Arizona Cardinals. Why? DeAndre Hopkins. Cardinals could have back-to-back picks, 95, 96, Bo. I think one of those 2 could be a running back. Not in this mock draft, Bo, but maybe. I mean, Hopkins out there saying he wants to play for the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs. 91, 95 to go along with 96. I need it. I need it today.
You didn't take a corner in the first round. You didn't take one in the second round.
Right. I like Marco Wilson. They signed a bunch of corners.
They signed a bunch of corners?
Some special teamers.
They signed Rashad Fenton from the Kansas City Chiefs and had a cup of coffee with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
League Garrett Williams and league him in an Arizona Cardinals uniform. Right. Do it right now.
Can we write a message to PFF too that, like, poor Tanner McKee? He's not getting drafted by anybody.
Have interest in Tanner McKee. I've seen. I think Ryan Fowler of the draft network
my lunch
reported
when
that.
I saw that. All right, I'm pulling an audible here.
Okay,
because I don't love Nathaniel Dell because he's tiny. Right. This is tempting right here. Chandler has been mocked to us from NC State, North Carolina State, but that's also Steve Keim's alma mater. So I'm not sure if that's good juju or not. I'm dabbling on a back. And if Kendra's here, this is the player I want. I think you can splurge. You've gone premium position, edge rusher, defensive tackle, center, corner. I think you can make a splash pick. Are you okay with this pick?
I'm still a little bit reluctant. I think that's,
wow, at 105,
it's fun. It's fun. I'll give you that's fun. But this draft has turned into a lunch pail business type. Just get improve the trenches, improve the defense, offensive line, like the no frills, and we want to kind of spice things up with a running back. The kid out of NC State to get Whippler at center, and then to potentially get a starting guard of the future, and you want to go running back.
Ask the chat. We're going to pick either Kendra Miller or the guard out of North Carolina State. I know what the chart says, but I'm all about having fun, baby. Get a couple cocktails in me.
Pull the trigger. Let's go. Kendra Miller from
Thank
TCU.
You. They worked him out. They like
Looks
him.
good. He's working out. He's met with the Cardinals.
Pick 105. Come on now. We can splurge a little bit. It's like you've been putting money in your 401k, your savings account.
Sound like my wife racking up our credit.
Go out and go to Home Goods, go to Target, spend some money, right? You're allowed to do that once in a while. Have a little bit of fun. We need some fun. Here.
By the way, the chat, I know you can't see it right now because you're screen sharing. It was kind of split. It was split for the most part between the guard out of NC State and Miller. We went with Miller. Back on the clock again. Is his pick 140, 168?
Yeah, this is
All
the
right.
5th round. This is the second pick of the or third pick of the 5th round, Bo Brock.
All right. What do we got? Offensive line, defensive line, edge. I think you can look at.
I don't think. Listen, the situation with Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons.
You're gonna start scaring the folks out there.
No, I'm not scared. Listen to me. Anthony Johnson Jr. Okay, elite tape. Look what he did against TCU. Look what he did against Kansas State. Real programs. Kansas State. I mean, hot damn, one of the hottest teams in college football. Put up an 85 grade.
What do you like about his size? What's his size?
Well,
what's
I don't think
his.
I don't think he's undersized. I think he's average height.
Why are people? Why is the guy every mock draft here and available? If you do the PFF mock draft simulator,
I think people don't value safeties, and I think
what's he going to do? I mean, he's going to probably play teams his first year. You don't think that you could sneak somebody who's going to play snaps at this, in 2023 in this spot?
I know
you're taking.
I'm not drafting.
This is like lottery pick time.
I'm not drafting for need in the 5th round. I'm drafting BPA.
Pick and spreads just answering my question because he's bad, Bo. That's why. Pick and spreads not a big Anthony Johnson Jr. fan.
All right, well, what else? What are there players you guys like? You want me to go look and see if they're available? You want to double down on a defensive lineman? Listen,
let's
I have
look
no
at which guards are available. We haven't taken a guard in this draft. We took a center.
I would say that ship might have sailed here.
Yeah, I don't see anybody I like here. We already took care of the center position.
I mean, PFF's rankings, that we should point this out, are not the end all.
Any tackles available? Maybe we can just take a tackle.
Yeah, McFadden's fine, but this is about I'm looking at value picks. We've taken Trice in a previous mock draft. I have no problem. Add to the cornerback room. We're not going to take a tight end here. Is there a wide receiver that's going to spark anybody's interest? So we go look at some size at the position, Bo.
Ooh, I don't mind that.
So Jalen Marino Cropper, I think he is over 6 foot, if I can remember.
Yeah, I'm just not. None of these guys just.
No, he's about
face
6
value.
foot.
Yeah, pass.
These aren't doing for it.
Let's get back to.
I don't know. I just is anybody in love with any of these players?
People are saying, is it Mafi?
Where's he at? What position? This kid from Sacramento State, Mapu? This is bad podcasting. Let's make it.
Okay.
How about this right here? What do you think of this right here?
you want DTR? Are we in the 6th round here?
I'm going to tell you right now, you don't take DTR right here. Look at this shit. Don't show producer Shane that. Anthony Totri burned his eyes out. 90 against I remember that game.
What did he do against U of A? He lost that game. How did he play against USC through 11 picks? Look, bro. DTR, you want to pull the trigger on DTR? I just don't think it's going to be a valuable pick. But look, we've reached a point in the draft where we're grasping. Okay.
I'm doing
Johnny's also reached the point where he's just going to make his decision.
we spent way too much time on that pick. Look who's still there. Look who's still there at the top.
All right,
of
take
the
him.
Round.
He can play some teams. Anthony Johnson Jr.
People are going to freak out if they take a quarterback on day 3. They're going to take a quarterback on day 3, especially if they trade down and get more picks. I'm trying to prepare everybody.
It's the last pick we have here.
I don't mind this pick right here or this one.
Yeah, I like Slade. He's got some good size at the wide receiver or at the defensive line position.
I like the defensive linemen on the team. Not sure if you guys know this, aren't very good, and so the Cardinals draft more of them.
Flood it.
Yeah, I think this is the play. I think you take a Big Ten, Power 5 defensive lineman. You see, okay, can he become a rotational guy? And you got to pick 36 or pick 36 in the 6th round. Like that's good value. So
can you look at just do me? Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm sorry. I
Are you though?
I'm sorry. The mock draft, the stick and pick mock draft. What were you hoping to find?
The defensive lineman out of Michigan State. He took Sparty. And
I think this
Slade
is
now an Arizona Cardinal. You think this is going to grade out?
DTR is not going to grade well because they don't value him as much as their boy McKee. But I think everything else, we got the safety. A+. Look, these were my 2 picks right here. They weren't into those. Will Anderson Jr. A+, Mozzie Smith A, Whippler A, Garrett Williams A+. Kendra Miller, C+. That's fine. DTR.
We do me a favor and save that. Download that pick, and we'll tweet it out at PHNX_Cardinals.
I sure can. Yeah,
There
I'll
you
stop
go.
sharing and I'll download it. I don't need you guys looking at my download history, if you know what I mean. All right. That was fun. I had a good time doing that. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, you know what? I actually think, I don't know if it's just because we're becoming mock draft vets here during the 2023 season, but
we are.
I think that our stick and pick draft is actually one of our more impressive drafts that we've had.
We had some people follow us there. I mean, that could have been ugly. It had Will Anderson Jr. gone second overall, and we're not able to trade down. I know we could have. There were options to trade down because of our rules. We have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Integrity. We had the integrity to stick and pick there. Had Will Anderson Jr. not been there, what would have been your pick? Devin Witherspoon, probably.
No, I mean I think you and I said Christian Gonzalez just because I think that we feel pretty confident in what we're hearing and that the Cardinals like his length a little bit, and
they like the size.
They don't need Devin Witherspoon like some teams would view him as just put him stick and pick and put him immediately in the starting lineup and be Sauce Gardner or be CB1. I think Christian Gonzalez that won't have that expectation. That this is a long play, and they think that he could be the better prospect of the two just because of the projectables.
Arizona Animal, the running back pick should have been an F-. Hold on a second. And I feel like, first of all, go watch his Fiesta Bowl. He was fantastic. Although PFF had Mozzie Smith's Fiesta Bowl really good too. I'll have to go back and watch the tape. All I know is TCU did whatever they wanted up front, and that kid had a huge run to start the game. They're going to take it back at some point. Like, it's funny, and we're going to transition to this conversation when we talk about the uniforms. Cardinals don't have very many marketable star players. Like, the players they have are either their career or their future with the team is in flux. Guys like Budda Baker, right now, Isaiah Simmons. And then the guys that they've acquired are older. James Conner, Zach Ertz. They're getting rid of D-Hop, right? Hollywood Brown's in a contract year. Like, they don't have a ton of, so they like Kendra Miller. If he's good, immediately becomes a star player for this team. Immediately becomes a cornerstone player that you could say in 2024, it's even said it on PFF. You're our benchmark player. Johnny slams running back picks like the Stamps Capri Suns. If the Cardinals with this running back class, which is, I would say, as deep as we've seen it since the Chubb year, when all those guys went on day 2 and day 3, if the Cardinals don't at least take a back, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be so pissed off because I think you could give up a late third, early fourth for a running back, and you can get immediate return. I don't want to pick 34. I'm with you. I've talked myself out of Jahmyr Gibbs at 34. I think that'd be a mistake. But anywhere else, go ahead. Go nuts.
I mean, yeah, and you've got James Conner, and then who else do you have? You got Corey Clement. You got Keontae Ingram, who as much as we wanted him to turn into something.
Old regime pick.
He's
an old regime pick.
Yeah, he was. So you don't have anybody on your roster right now that you feel comfortable with beyond James Conner. It really does seem, and they're doing their homework on running backs, right? The kid from Pitt, this kid from TCU. So they've talked to running backs, just like offensive linemen. And it seems like all signs are pointing to them taking a running back, tackle.
They value running backs. Cleveland, Tennessee, Philadelphia. I mean, these places value taking backs, not high, but in the middle rounds, and then extending those guys. Chubb got a new deal. Derrick Henry got a new deal. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, though, that if they don't get a back, I think they're going to take one. But if they don't get a signature back that they feel like could really help James Conner this year, Kareem Hunt, is Miles Sanders, he signed with someone, but
Carolina.
Kareem Hunt is still available. I think they could play in that space too. So a space I'm going to play in every day, all day. Circle K, baby. So excited to partner with our friends at Circle K. I was just at Circle K last night. Son had flag football practice. We stopped off there. Safe, convenient, got him a Gatorade, picked up some goodies, came home. I'm gearing up, baby, for Suns basketball tonight. I'm doing it with my friends at Circle K. I got to stay out. These games can get pretty late. Cool off with some iced coffee, a little caffeine, 12 packs of premium beer at not a premium price. Hello, Four Peaks, Monster Energy drinks, Red Bull. It's your premier one-stop shop for everything you need at a convenient place and not a inconvenience for your wallet. So all you got to do, make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff Circle K has to offer. Head to circlek.com/store locator to find the nearest Circle K to you. Everybody's like, Johnny, you don't really hang out at Circle K. Next time I'm in there, I'm going to take a selfie of myself, and all the people are going to be like, get me out of this photo. I'm at Circle K almost every day. I love it. I trust the people there. I trust the convenience. You should too. Check them out, Circle K.
You're like Jay and Silent Bob at Circle K. You're just outside loitering.
Sir, like please. We've asked you several times.
You're dancing. You're freestyling outside and just saying vulgar things like Jay and Silent Bob. You mentioned the Suns game tonight, and Scott Foster is the referee. Chris Paul and his team are what? 0-14? Is that the right number? Emma, who produces PHNX Suns?
Yeah, 0-14. And then Scott Foster also tweeted at Chris Paul.
That's not a real account.
No, Scott Foster tweeted, "Hey, at CP3, good luck tonight. Let the best
That's
man
not
win."
a real account. That has to be fake. That's fake, right?
With the new verification thing, there's no way it's real.
It's let me cross-check, but 100%. Well, no.
I saw the
But regardless, what I'm getting to, anytime Scott Foster is reffing a game with CP3, you're never comfortable. Here's how you can get comfortable. Go to our friends over at More Furniture. Get yourself a couch. Get yourself maybe a lounge chair. Get your living room, your dining room, your bedroom dialed in. You'll live a more comfortable life, even though Scott Foster's out there ruining us and making us uncomfortable as Suns fans. Go to More Furniture. Take advantage of their custom order furniture. Take advantage of their white glove delivery, where they're going to deliver it for you, unpack it, get rid of the packaging, and set it up exactly where you want it. White glove delivery, unbelievable. And they're already gearing up for the Memorial Day sale. We're a month out, and they're already gearing up to 50% off now. You can actually shop on their website, morefurniture.com, Memorial Day deals. Check it out, morefurniture.com. Save big on the best furniture in the Valley with More Furniture.
So before we talk about the uniforms, we got to talk about this situation with Dalvin Cook, which is just, we keep getting tagged in it. And respectively, I don't even know what to say or make of it other than who's putting this out here on Instagram, Bo? Chris Boyd? Who's Chris Boyd?
Well, I have to inform you, he's a new cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals. He's a special teamer.
Welcome, friend. Welcome. He's on the team now. Hey, Chris Boyd. And he used to play for the Minnesota Vikings.
Who the hell is this guy?
He did, right? This offseason is seemingly never ending. We tried. Bo is a little bit more, let's say, read up on the new players, as you saw in our 60-second, where he named literally every player because he has no life. But I don't remember Chris Boyd signing with this team, but he is a real NFL player. Okay, and he's on the team.
Yeah.
And he's a special teamer. See, I told you we had a bunch of corners during the mock draft, and you're like, we don't have any corners. So now you're talking out both sides of your mouth. But all right, so he's on the team. He used to play with Dalvin Cook. So why is he on Instagram courting Dalvin Cook here? I don't understand.
You just answered your own question. He used to play with Dalvin Cook. Can we put the graphic back up? I'm tired of watching Johnny in his embarrassed face that he didn't know who the Arizona Cardinals player was. For our podcast listeners, it's a picture of Kevin Hart kind of putting up his hands like, hey, don't blame me. At Dalvin Cook, at AZCardinals, thinking face emoji 3 times. And then the text saying, I'm just saying, let me mind my business. This tea good as hell. And then he's got the emoji eyes. And then he's got the Kermit or the frog drinking the tea or the coffee. So Chris Boyd just, I think, stirring things up, right?
Yeah.
Just stirring things up. But he knows Dalvin, right? He's coming from Minnesota, where he was beloved. I think you're going to like him as well. I hope you get to know him enough to recognize him as a player on this roster.
I remember him now. I was just kidding. He's that vocal special teamer that gets after people. I know the player. I didn't remember his name. I'm gonna be honest with you. But I also, if I ever met him, I would say, hey, Chris, they're paying James Conner $10 million. They would not like to do that. And Dalvin Cook has a robust salary that the Vikings would also not like to pay. And he also plays running back. And we've got our snarky people in the comments coming after me saying, don't take a running back in the 4th. But then everybody's like, do you see this about Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook's like a fucking 100 years old in running back years, and he's expensive. Come on now, let's add up our math a little bit here. Dalvin Cook and James Conner with a $25 million cap hit. Not a good setup for a team that, is in a rebuild year. I don't know. I don't get it. But
yeah,
he's shooting his shot at his buddy.
It's usually not in the best interest of a rebuilding team to lock in on a running back whose deal expires in 2025 and to pay that much money. Josh in the chat saying Johnny doing the uniform reveal. What the fuck are these guys?
I'm not the only person that's gonna be doing that. Hey, who are you? What do you do here? Oh, I play guard for the Cardinals now. Oh, okay, cool.
Some guy named Jonathan Gannon says
I'm gonna be honest with you. That some of these players that they've signed, you've talked about this, aren't gonna make it through camp. They're not gonna be on the 53-man roster. So I'm just, it's like the Moneyball approach. I'm not going to fall in love with them, fall in like. And if they make the team awesome, if they don't, I'm not attached. That's the only reason I didn't know who Chris Boyd was.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook, he's his cap hit 14 mil this year, 15 mil the next, 13.5. I mean, as much as Chris Boyd is trying to talk, Dalvin Cook's still a good player, but we know as far as where teams around the league and they value the running back position, like you would be better served to take a running back like Kendre Miller in the 4th or 5th round than go and spend money on a guy like Dalvin. As interesting as it would be, and I love Chris Boyd coming right out when people who cover the team don't even know who he is, and he's just already stirring the pot.
I've been a huge Chris Boyd fan for years. I think one of the signature moves of the offseason. Don't be a smart ass. Super chats are fantastic. Eric Smith, $2. Back from our earlier conversation. Paris Johnson from the Ohio State University, 100% agree. Bo, I'm not even sure if Bo knows who Paris Johnson is. But he's not a fan of him at pick 3. I am. I'd be fine with that pick.
He's got dancer's feet. It's very impressive. He's got skill position player feet at the tackle position.
Let's check some boxes on Paris Johnson Jr.
Okay.
Size, check. Feet, check. Pedigree, big time university, check. Tape, check. What more do you need to see?
Go watch his tape against like Lucas Van Ness, a guy who's going to be in the top 15.
Go check his tape. It's
like a man amongst boys. Van Ness absolutely just destroys him, just pushes him around.
Okay. Well, we all have that one vice. That Lucas Van Ness does that to a lot of people. Go look at this. CJ Stroud had a tremendous, semifinal game in part because of Paris Johnson Jr.
Joel with a $4.99 super chat. He was checking in earlier. So this was from our conversation way earlier. Apologize, Joel, for getting into this late. But Nolan Smith comp is Hassan Reddick. We love Reddick and how good he was under JG. Don't understand the dismissal. I think that if Jonathan, obviously you have more tape about who Hassan Reddick is at the professional level, at the NFL level. He produced in his final year for the Cardinals, 12.5 sacks. Then he went to Carolina. He produced there. And then he got the bag from Philadelphia. And he had a track record where I think, just because Hassan Reddick was kind of the exception and kind of undersided his position, but to be able to thrive at the NFL level there doesn't mean that every single guy that has a comp to him is going to be the same player at the NFL level. I just don't. I think that Hassan's the exception to it, and it took him a while to find his way, albeit because the Arizona Cardinals fumbled his development. But you can't just say every guy that's a little bit undersized at the edge position that's athletic is going to be the next Hassan Reddick.
And also, people don't really bring this up enough. Hassan Reddick got edge snaps as a rookie because they didn't have room for him to play inside backer. So they tried him on the edge as a rookie. It was kind of a half attempt. And then they made his full transition the next offseason. So it wasn't like he was at camp like Tyrann Mathieu circa 2013 training camp, just lighting people up. And it was, we got to get this guy on the field. To Bo's point, took time. Plus, Hassan Reddick was the 13th pick in the draft. And I know he went to a much smaller university.
Yeah, I would feel much more. I was
just about to say.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith in the teens.
For sure.
The 11th. The 3rd overall pick should not have question mark.
Do you like when I said Tyree Wilson and Nolan Smith? What about a guy like Lucas Van Ness compared to Nolan Smith?
I don't know. I think all those guys are in the same category. How about that? Where they're not Will Anderson to me, and they're in that next tier. And I will 100% delegate to Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort. And I would say, if your scheme is built better for this player and you think this player can come in and it's immediate plug and play production, which is what we need, go do that. I think Will Anderson transcends scheme. I don't know. Like Nolan Smith can't play defensive end. I don't think. I think he's got to stand up. Whereas Tyree Wilson is better suited with his hand on the ground. Lucas Van Ness better suited with his hand on the ground. So that's probably above my pay grade. But I would be 100% fine with 11, 9 even. If it comes with a 2024 1 and a 2, then you can say, well, shit, we can double down. We can get the pass rusher next year or later in this draft. If you take one of those guys, you take Tyree Wilson 3rd overall, like you're going all in on that guy becoming an ass kicker Pro Bowler. And that's a lot to ask for with a guy that's got a foot, with a guy that's got limited production, and you're going strictly off of projecting next level. Well, his tape wasn't, as good as some others. He's not Will Anderson with the accolades, but we're projecting. I think you get a big fat parachute if you're Ossenfort for whomever they take at pass rush or otherwise, if it comes with a bounty of picks, because then you're shooting out lottery tickets. You don't get the picks with 3 and you're taking somebody like Tyree Wilson or Nolan Smith. That's a big, big gamble. And I don't think they want to play in that space. I know they don't.
Yeah. Trinell saying don't sleep on Miles Murphy, another edge prospect at a Clemson. Jean-Paul Edwards de Dios saying Luke Van Ness doesn't have bend. He's a one-trick pony.
He's a power rusher. He's a power
follows
rusher.
The Hawkeye, says Van Ness, but Nolan Smith offers you a higher ceiling as a pass edge rusher.
I know Iowa lost a bunch of games 6-9. So
yeah.
I'm sure Lucas Van Ness played a part in that. Iowa's offense was historically bad, and they were much more competitive. Our guy Brian
Clark scored more points in the NCAA tournament than the Iowa Hawkeye football team did all season long.
Yeah,
that's an unreal stat.
I get his son off the staff. Brian, our guy, $2 super chat. Brian, hopefully he's coming to the draft party. Sure, he wasn't complaining about the food, that being Dalvin Cook versus Cook in his Insta story for Chris Boyd, our boy. Sounds like breakfast is free now. Speaking of free, if you've got season tickets, you get to go to this event Thursday night for free with the Arizona Cardinals. It's an evening with Jonathan Gannon. What are they calling it? Just a introductory get together, 6 to 8.
It's a 2023 season preview with Gannon. Players are going to be there for some reason. Big Red, the mascot's going to be there. But it's just an evening. Nothing to do with anything else beyond that.
Chris Boyd going to be there? Is he going to beat my ass when I see him?
Do you know who I am? You and I are going to be there. We did get media is going to be able to cover this event. We're excited about it. So we're just going to haul our asses down the street and watch Johnny get verbally abused by Chris Boyd.
Here's our plan for Thursday. Okay, so the uniforms are being debuted Thursday, April 20th. We think they're going to be debuted between 6 to 8. They could come out sooner. We are going to do a regular show at 4 p.m. If we have the uniforms, we're going to talk about them then. Regardless, we're going to go to the event. If they're being showcased at the event, we'll be at the event with producer Shane. We're going to get a ton of content. Find it all at PHNX_Cardinals as much as they allow us to do. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do another show, and that will be the definitive show where we break it all down. Now, there have been a bunch of hot button rumors about what these uniforms look like. If I could sit here and tell you I know definitively what they look like, I would tell you. Other people, our boy Kyle Odegaard, he knows what they look like, but he's being tongue in cheek. Oklahoma red, Oklahoma scheme, aesthetic, maybe a little bit. I can't confirm or deny that.
I thought you said Ohio State. Didn't
Ohio State? I'm sorry, Ohio State. So if I knew what they look like, I would tell everybody. I don't have nothing to hide, but all I know is the helmet is going to be a similar aesthetic to the black helmet. So the white helmet's going to have some silver speckles, maybe a silver face mask.
A little pizzazz.
Yeah. A couple different pieces of information I got over the last 24 to 48 hours is that there's momentum with no more piping down the side, which I would hope to God, the football gods, that if you're lighting these uniforms on fire from 2003, the piping would be the first thing to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't shoot the messenger on Thursday if they have piping, but I have heard that from probably about 3 different people that the piping is and the striping.
I think that
doing
was
away with
just
that.
that was the first thing. You get anybody with any sense, and I'm not pretending to have any. You're not, but any fashion sense, they're just
looks
immediately pulling that off, taking it out and throwing it in the trash, and emptying the recycle bin on their computer because they don't want it coming back.
Bucky Bird, the video screams copper. I don't know if I'd read too much into the video.
Yeah, I think that's just coming from the case, like Pulp Fiction style.
I think I'm going to give you my guess right now. I think it's going to be dominant with red. I think they're going to stick with like over Bo's right shoulder, his left shoulder, but our right. Like you're looking at our guy at the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
I think that we're going
to
see
Lomax.
Yeah, I think with Neil, I think we're going to see something similar with that jersey. I don't have that source. That's just my gut. I think the jersey is the dominant color. It's not going to be this bullshit of red and white like we have now, and it doesn't look right. I think it's going to be like Cardinal red. That's the jersey. And then there's going to be some different kind of elements here and there. I know Kyle Odegaard said no state flag, which is disappointing. Maybe just Arizona. Like the Rod Tidwell jersey, and Jerry Maguire, like that's a good looking uniform. Pat Tillman, that's a good looking uniform. I think they would be best served to go back to that. And it sounds to me like that's kind of where we're headed.
Yeah, I agree with Arizona Animal here. My prediction: uniforms won't have any Arizona theme. It just doesn't feel like they're adopting any of the concepts that had the state flag involved, or reverting back to the old late 90s, early 2000s, where they even had just the state flag patch. Arizona, sneaky good state flag. And I wish they would embrace it a little bit more.
Yeah, I wish the team would embrace Arizona. Now, we wanted to do like desert sand vibes, and that would have been a hard left turn. It doesn't sound like they're doing that. So I think you can pay homage to the Cardinals greats of the 70s and 80s, and like Neil Lomax, even like Dick Night Train Lane and players like that. And I think that Otis Anderson, I would try to mix in some of those elements and come full circle. And then, of course, with those hideous uniforms, you had the Larry and Kurt Warner and Anquan Bolden, like come full circle and kind of merge them all together in take the best elements from these past uniforms, put them all together. But the more I hear, they're not going to go outside the box with these. These are conservative, and it almost feels like with the state of this franchise and the fan base, like it's a good thing they're conservative.
Probably.
Because if they're out of left field, people are going to lose their shit.
Regardless if you're watching our pre-uniform unveil show or post, good little companion for you for either one of them is OGs Brands. It's going to make the uniforms pop. If just depending on which gummy, just whatever you're looking for from your gummy, you've got it from OGs Brands. You got to check them out. All their full product line is available on their website, OGsBrands.com. You can check it on some of your favorite flavors. How about your orange creamsicle? You've got your blackberries and cream. You got even the Aquaberry Sleep Edition that's going to help you put you to sleep and keep you asleep, which is great for those who struggle. You got the new also Happy Balance gummy, the new strawberries and cream. You got the CBD to THC ratio. You got to love it. Check them out. They're on the shelves of your local dispensary. You got to check out all those products on their socials as well at OGs Brands. Anytime they've got some deals going on, you can check into that if you're following along at OGs Brands. But check them out in your local dispensary. Find them there, OGsBrands.com for all the product information. Got to be 21 years or older and enjoy them responsibly.
Jetstream Green, one of our friends of Frank Sanders. Speaking of Frank Sanders, he rocked the 90s uniform. The best coming out of Auburn. We need another Frank Sanders coming up in this draft. I mentioned earlier, as did Bo, you get a free drink if you come to the draft party. Sign up with rocking a PHNX tee. Easiest way for you to do that. I'm going to help you save money right now in the best possible sense. Go to gophnx.com. Become a diehard for the entire year. You can pick up a free hat and or shirt and bring the shirt and or hat to the draft party. We're having a great time. In the meantime, before the draft party, afterwards, you get access to every article. 90% are free. Then that sweet 10%. You got to use your diehard membership plus any events moving forward that do have a cost associated. You get 20% off. You get to yell at Bo and I in the exclusive member Discord. Get access to everything and anything PHNX. Get an awesome little card. I'm so fired up. Check them out. GoPHNX.com. Become a diehard. Rep your Valley team at the PHNX Cardinals draft party. If you need to find that RSVP reservation, we will throw it in the chat, but you can find it at Twitter, at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brack, at PHNX_Cardinals. We're reaching triple digits by the party, you think, Bo Brack?
Yeah, I think we're going to be there. Han Shop first got the PHNX tee today. Can't wait to see in it on Thursday, or a week from Thursday. It's going to be a blast. We're another day closer. We got some things to do in between now and then. Got the uniform unveil this Thursday. Maybe some trades. I don't know. Are they going to finally trade D-Hop? Are they going to finally trade down? We'll see. If anything happens between now and tomorrow's episode, of course, got to have those alerts set up where you subscribe on YouTube, so you'll know if we go live for an emergency podcast. But between now and then, have a great time. For Johnny Venerable, producer Emma, and myself, Bo Brack. Talk to you on Wednesday on PHNX Cardinals. See you later.